Hello, everyone. Welcome to another DCU Daily. We're here to talk about a whole bunch of movies stuff relations today. It's mainly movie talk madness today. That is all the news. Pretty much all the news is today is movie talk madness and maybe a couple other things. But we have a bunch to discuss today. We have Toy Story 5 trailer dropped. A bunch of Rotten Tomato scores dropped. And then box office for this upcoming weekend. And then, of course, we have some more MCU news. Not a ton, but a little bit for you guys today. And then, of course, we have our quick hits. A lot of quick hits. And then a tiny bit of DC news. Not a ton today, but a little bit enough. And then, of course, we are bringing back Hot Take Debate instead of having Tier List Tuesday today, because unfortunately further research is needed for the suitors that are interested in Warner Brothers. So we're going to be doing that, and then we're going to be doing that as a special Tier List Wednesday. So maybe get pumped for that. I don't know. We apologize. We keep delaying this, but it seems like this is our white whale at this point, even though I just kind of want to get it done so we can move on to Tier List Tuesdays people will actually care about. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the show before we dawdle a little bit too long with being Knuff. So see you after the intro.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now?
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Hello, welcome to the news and DCU Daily today. Of course, I'm your host, John. Dan will be here in a quick sec, but for now, I will be heading the hosting duties for today. So, welcome to the show. So, I hope you guys enjoy. I just got to bring up the wonderful little ticker, and we're going to be getting into lots of fun stuff. And of course, we have our wonderful audience. We have Hunter Iggy, Enterprising, Tony Randall, Caleb. Love to see Caleb. We have and some D. Cole and Monique. So lovely to see all of you wonderful people. But before we dawdle further, let's quickly get into this. Quickly, let's go. Toy Story 5, the sequel that no one wanted to the other sequel no one wanted to the perfect little film trilogy. So, yes, even though pretty much everyone is saying on the internet, no one is saying, hey, we don't want this movie. No one's excited for this. Well, Disney will keep doubling down, and until we say something with our wallets, they are simply not going to believe us. So, that's neither here nor there. So, welcome to another Toy Story 5 another Toy Story that we will unfortunately be getting now, the fifth one. And it is the toys versus more money? No, but yes. Tech. Apparently, a high-tech smart tablet is going to be our villain after great villains like, Stinky Pete and Lotso and Existential Crisis. Apparently, it's a thing that you could chuck down a flight of stairs and it will automatically break. But, that's cool, I guess. Great. But, yeah, I didn't even bother watching this because, we're going to get the same crap over again. They're bringing Woody back, even though he went through an entire arc through Toy Story 4. But it's like, nope, we got to bring him back because he is the most popular. He is the original protagonist of the franchise, so we got to bring him back. So here we are. We're here. You know that's not going to happen, Enterprise, and you know this is going to suck. It has a great concept, but much like Wonder Man, I don't trust it because it's made by Disney. Speaking of Disney, that's a terrible segue. Dan, hi. How are you doing on this wonderful day?
I mean, if you're trying to imply that I have a connection to Disney, then sure, I'm doing well. It's a bit of a casual day. I kind of felt a little tired, so I didn't even bother to really.
Also, happy
do my hair or
Veterans Day
anything.
to everyone watching. Well,
Happy
at least in
Veterans
the
Day
US, but,
indeed.
you know.
Yeah, there was some really cool stuff I found on social media today. I think it was it President Barack Obama like showed up on a flight of veterans flying into DC for an event. It was really cool. But anyway, yeah, Disney did. I did work for Disney at one point via ESPN, so you know that's part of my my resume, I suppose. Anyway, speaking of
But
resumes,
yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts on this trailer that dropped and yet another Toy Story beating the dead horse further and further? Thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say hello to everybody in the live chat. Enterprising Hunter, Tony, Caleb, Movie Spud, everybody here. Yash, also one of our members. D. Cole, right, dude. We've got some of your hot takes coming up later. I did save a couple for tomorrow because, you know, actually there's a good number of hot takes to get into. Anyway, Toy Story 5. I saw the trailer. It's really not much of a trailer. It's a teaser trailer. Hello,
Yeah,
Enterprising.
teaser.
So it doesn't give us more than, again, just the premise, John. And I think I agree with you with what you were saying. It's a clever, well put together premise. Like if you go to the next article, we actually have the poster in there too. Toy Story 5 needs to kind of, at this point in the franchise, they've explored, you know, so much of what this world has to give us already. Hello, Just Words. How are you doing today? They have to change things up a little bit because I felt like Toy Story 4 was kind of unnecessary in a lot of ways. Like, what did it have to say? And you know, like Toy Story 3 was such a crescendo for the franchise that I think, for example, like after Avengers Endgame, Marvel has kind of struggled to really figure out like what the next big thing is, and now we're getting these two Avengers movies coming up. But Toy Story is similar in the sense that Toy Story 3 was such a genre era defining movie that honestly I think after that, no matter what they did with Toy Story 4, unless they somehow completely knocked it out of the park, it was going to be a disappointment. So I think with Toy Story 5, hopefully they're going in a new direction. And then so far, you look at the poster, you look at the teaser trailer, you know, is the era of toys over? Because here comes a talking tablet, Lily Pad as it's known. It's on like Donkey Kong because
Yeah. It's on, even though,
it's-
again, you could just kind of chuck it down the stairs and it'll, you know, like break immediately. But, you know, that.
Yeah,
There we
exactly,
go.
Caleb. So I love that they're going in this direction because this is the kind of bold storytelling Toy Story was known for. Because I feel like this here, at least the premise by itself, is very, very strong. They can turn this into a movie that provides real commentary on things like a lot of parents struggle with how young of a kid, how young does your child need to be, or how old do they need to be when you give them an iPad, or you know, some parents will disagree. A lot of parents disagree on it. I've seen parents whose kids are 3 years old and they have an iPad. Then I've seen parents whose kids are teenagers and then they're getting their first iPod, or I mean, they don't even exist anymore, but iPhones or iPads to begin with. It's this whole idea, and then you know, not even an iPad. You have these kids like specific versions of tablets out there that have games that are educational and stuff. But what about playing with actual toys? Do kids play with toys anymore? They still make toys, so it's a very, very dense and I think a topic worth exploring. That a movie like I think Toy Story is the perfect franchise to explore this subject matter. And it appeals to a huge chunk of the Disney audience. And while Enterprising, you think it's a red herring, I think this is potentially the premise of the first really good Toy Story movie in almost a decade. Like this could really help define the genre and update, not the genre, but the franchise, and update it for the here and the now. because like back in the day all people needed were building blocks, like I had building blocks, like before
Yeah.
Legos there was just these big big
I
ass
had
building
the
blocks.
little
um
Brio, is it trains?
yeah.
Was that what they were called? I had those. I had Hot Wheels.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
had
Hot
all
Wheels.
that stuff. So
Even action figures like this, it feels like action figures have kind of moved on to like people as they grow up, and now like grown men who grew up with action figures still have them because they collect them more so than play with them, whereas the kids growing up today have iPads. But I think there's also an argument. I hope this is where I trust Pixar because they're of their track record, despite some recent mishaps. Pixar will take this story hopefully in a direction where it appeals to audiences of all ages, because playing with toys has actual, like, research has proven, like, greater benefits to kids who are learning at that age, right? Every kid wants to eat everything like they get their hands on, including toys. So and it's their way of discovering the world through touch and all their different senses. An iPad doesn't give you that learning development the same way that an actual physical toy would, that we can move around and, like, you do something, something else happens, there's a cause and effect, you learn from that. You don't get the same level of interactivity, and it doesn't excite all of your senses in the same way to just be sitting on an iPad watching something, even if you're tapping things and playing a game. So I think if they really can attack this premise in an honest way, then this could be a great movie and a timely movie at a time when movies are failing to provide commentary on AI and everything. This movie could really do a great job with giving us exactly what we need, with kind of providing commentary and on the idea of, like, kids playing with toys versus iPads. I think this would be great. I'm excited. Hopefully the full trailer will give us more information.
I'm gonna be with Quentin Tarantino on this one, where trilogy was perfect. I don't give a fuck what comes after. So with that, we kind of move on. But this was the poster, by the way, another clearer version of the poster. But no one wanted Five Button. How did Woody just come back to the gang after the fourth movie? So I guess the whole goodbye with Woody was pointless now. So the ending to 4, where Woody left, just chuck it out the window. The fourth one was literally supposed to be the last one. So yeah, people are clowning on this one. But in terms of the Toy Story 5 trailer, that's kind of it. But but that's not the only thing in regards to a known IP getting another film under its belt, and that is, of course, The Running Man. So The Running Man's Rotten Tomato score has been revealed as first reviews for Edgar Wright's reboot Race Online, and it is not as good as people were thinking it was. However, it's not bad. In this article, it says it's at 64%. But the 1987 original sits at 59, and it is a far cry from all of his other films, which are in the 80s and 90s, although Last Night in Soho is the outlier in the 70s. But now, for right now, the Rotten Tomatoes score for The Running Man is at 62. Let me refresh the page, see if it's changed. Nope. So for critics, it's at 62, which I feel like makes sense, because I feel like this is not a critical movie. Like, I feel like this is like popcorn. It's a popcorn fest. I feel like this is very much like this is not a critic kind of movie. This is very much like it's a popcorn fest. It's a fun popcorn movie with maybe a little bit of social commentary in there. But the biggest takeaway I've gotten from the critic reviews is that essentially it's tonally inconsistent, because the original King story is very dark, brutal, and melancholic, while Edgar Wright kind of fluffs it up by making it more fun, action oriented. But yeah, I would say I'll give it. I'm with this one. I'll give it a chance. And exactly, Everyone said like Baby Driver wasn't that great, yet that's probably my favorite Edgar Wright movie. So obviously we'll see. But for me, I'm still excited for it. I don't really give a fuck what the critics say. I never give a fuck what Rotten Tomatoes says, because Rotten Tomatoes is kind of a hell site. But that's beside the point. But yeah, I think The Running Man looks great. We can scroll down, see a couple reviews down here. Flickering Myth, Movie Web, Culture Mix, Movie Bob. Of course, Bob Chipman hates it because it's fucking Bob. Remember Bob Chipman? Remember when he was like culturally relevant for 2 fucking seconds? All right. But yeah, and then Adam Naiman, Andrew Wyatt. They've been giving one more film, but pretty much a lot of things and places I've never even heard of, like Substack and all this other. Like I haven't even heard of like half of these people. So I don't know. I just think I think we're in for a fun time, whether people like it or not.
Yeah.
So it's
I mean,
it kind of
it's-
reminds
it's-
me of what people were saying about Karate Kid Legends. Oh, it sucks, but it's just like I found it to be fun. Like I'm just looking for a fun
Mhm.
time.
Yep.
Like that's honestly that's
No, it's
yeah.
John, it is exactly what that is. This movie is just a fun time at the movie theaters. That's really all we're there for. Is you watch a movie, you have fun with it. You're not looking for a critical darling. Like 62% is still a passing score, and it's still
here's
not
the thing
rotten.
about that,
So,
Yash, is Stephen King did it fucking before everybody else. He did it before John Wick. This is based on something from the fucking early 80s. So blame
It's kind of like when you
don't
watch,
blame
Romeo
King.
and
He's the one who
Juliet.
started it all. So you know.
It's kind of like watching Romeo and Juliet or The Godfather and then being like, I've seen these movies like many times before.
Yeah,
It's because
there
of
was a
those
starting
movies,
point.
those tropes
Hello.
exist. So yeah.
I
mean,
just
it
think,
looks
we're in
it looks
for a
fun.
Time. It looks like a lot of fun.
Like it looks like
Plus,
a
how can you resist that
quintessential
face?
Edgar Wright movie.
Look at that face.
Like this just feels like a Edgar Wright movie. So I think on that front, and it will test Glenn Powell's star power, because this movie is firmly, rooted in the idea that this is a Glenn Powell led movie. Granted, you have Josh Brolin, you have Coleman Domingo, you have Michael Cera, and a bunch of other amazing, fantastic actors, but. And rest in peace to Sally Kirkland and Tatsuya Nakadai. I don't think we have that as part of our coverage today, but thank you for calling that out, everybody. But yeah, I mean, The Running Man looks like a fun movie. 75 reviews, that number hopefully will double by the end of the weekend. But John, there is some news regarding the box office, because while the reviews are overall positive and the audience hype is generally there, maybe it's not there quite as much as we would expect, because the movie is projected to not open very, very high. 17 to 18 million opening weekend, that's not a big number. We know the original
that isn't
movie
a
was
big number.
basically a box office
However,
flop.
I will say this is coming from World of Real, which they are pretty much
they're quoting,
very well known for bullshitting.
That's true.
So
they're quoting Empire City box office, which again, not the most reliable source, but again, we'll get into that a little bit more later on, the overall weekend projections, which is where this number comes from. $110 million budget, I think $17 to $18 million at the opening weekend. If it is anywhere close to being true, I don't think this would be the biggest movie of the weekend. It's also gonna mean that this movie probably then gets buried alongside pretty much every other movie coming out this weekend by Wicked next weekend. And then you got Zootopia 2 not that long after. You got Avatar, Fire and Ash. So I think all of the movies coming out this weekend, if they don't get off to a huge start, might be in trouble, because there's some really big movies coming out in the next few weeks from Disney that will, and Universal, that will run away with the box office. So, but hey, I think this will be fun. This potentially has the look of a movie where the audiences love it so much the word of mouth helps it to stick around and do well in
but also doesn't help, and it does say here that it is R-rated, and it's going up against like a lot of PG-13 movies like Predator Badlands, Now You See Me. We're going to be getting into that soon, so there is that as well. But again, like I don't know what to fucking tell you, man. Like The Running Man, like the man, he runs. Like I don't know what to fucking tell you. It again, blame Stephen King of the 80s. He was coked out of his mind. So if you want to blame anybody, blame him. So I've heard. Is Avatar 3 gonna like fucking break records? Of course it is. Same with Wicked. But like it's just so funny because it's like I've seen the Running Man trailer like consistently. I haven't seen the Wicked trailer until like the last like month and a half, maybe 2 months. So I don't know. I just feel like we've like gotten this consistently. So it's weird to have it as a low opening, while people like Glenn Powell, people like Josh Brolin, people love Edgar Wright, and it's based on Stephen King. And the last 3 Stephen King movies at the box office were very successful. So I don't know. It's just kind of like interesting and kind of weird. So, you know, I love how like all three of those were based on previous IPs or books. Just found that to be very funny. I like to say, but not watch it. Yeah. So that's kind of it in regards to the Running Man. We have more to talk about in regards to the world of movies, and as I already mentioned, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. They already fucked up the title because the second one should have been called Now You Don't, but and then the third one should have been Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Boom. It would have been confusing, but I don't care. It should have been Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Boom. There you go. Easy. But nope, they fucked it up. So screw them. But anyway, in terms of this very weird franchise that nobody expected to be a franchise, the third outing in this weird magician, the magician, like Penn and Teller meets Fast and Furious for some reason. I didn't think that was anything we've heard, but apparently it's sitting at a fresh rating. At the point of this article was made, it was at 65%, but now it's down to 61. Let's see if there's any updates. Nope, still at 61. So that's going to be coming out later this week. So it seems like a lot of people, it's like kind of like what the last few movies were. It's like not great, but like just kind of a silly, like over the top heist crap, essentially, like, you know, Fast and Furious and stuff like that. So, you know, exactly. Like I think that because Edgar Wright, I feel like all of his movies are like cult classics. Because the Cornetto trilogy, Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, those are all like, I wouldn't say like bombs, but they were not like, oh my god, huge box office successes. So it's interesting how he finally does like this huge big budget action thriller, and he can't get anywhere because like most of his stuff unfortunately just doesn't hit it with mainstream audiences, but they hit with niche audiences. So, you know. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the main reason why anyone saw the fucking last one. But yeah, so we're getting this with like, it's like the Expendables 3, where they're like, they have all the old people, the original people, but then they're bringing these new people in the hopes that, you know, that maybe we can continue on this franchise with the new people, and it won't.
I mean, I will say though, it's
it's like, who do I want to watch? Woody Harrelson or Justice Smith?
I mean, look, I recently, a few days ago, actually ended up watching the first two movies, and you could tell, like visually, that Jesse Eisenberg has aged a few years, and also Woody Harrelson, like in these trailers. Isla Fisher looks fantastic, and of course, Dave Franco is never gonna age. He's like still looking pretty much the same age as he was before. So yeah, this is definitely that whole idea of passing this along to a next generation and maybe somehow continue this franchise. I will say the first two movies made enough money to potentially have follow-ups, but they weren't runaway successes. It wasn't like, it was kind of like those Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams ones, where they made enough money that you could potentially justify a sequel, but they were never really box office, like, runaway hits. So, yeah, the good Franco. So, John, I personally like the brand of magic and, you know, glitz and glamour that these movies provide.
Fast and Furious, but instead of cars, it's magic. Like, of course, that's gonna speak.
I do wonder though, because like they don't have Mark Ruffalo marketed for this movie at all, and he was a big part of the franchise to begin with. So I don't know what direction they're going to go.
That whole first movie was built on the twist, and it's just like, oh, yeah, that's kind of it. All right.
I mean, okay. No Melanie Laurent, no Mark Ruffalo. At this point, Morgan Freeman and Michael Keaton basically retired. So a big chunk of the I mean, obviously they also switched out. The funny thing is, in the first movie, I believe they had Isla Fisher. Then they switched her out for Lizzie Kaplan. So in that sense, like Isla Fisher is returning to the franchise for this third movie. So there's that. Hello, Steven. How are you doing? Yeah, now you see me, now you don't. Now you see me again. That should have been it, right? Now you see me. And then the second movie should have been Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
No,
and then Now You See Me, Now You See Me
Here's
again.
Here's the thing, I was just saying this. First one should have been Now You See Me. Second one should have been Now You Don't. And then the third one should have been Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Boom, there we go. I mean, if they could fucking make a sequel to Beetlejuice and call it Beetlejuice instead of Beetlejuicier, and then call the
Yes.
third one Beetlejuiciest. Like,
Exactly.
you know,
yeah.
that's the other like crime against humanity that they didn't fucking do. So, you know,
By the way, I did like the original movie.
never
The second
seen it
one was
'cause
a bit
I
of
don't
a
care.
step down. And look, so far, again, this movie and The Running Man are both kind of scoring similarly with critics, and I feel like with audiences, it's again, neither of these movies is meant to win an Oscar. I mean, unless I don't know, for like one of the technical categories. But yeah, as long as it entertains you, these are the kind of movies that honestly, I don't know why both of these movies are coming out in November. Like both Now You See Me, Now You Don't, and The Running Man should have come out in like June or July or August, something like that. Because these are the kind of summer movies that people would want to go see. Like you're just gonna be watching a movie every week. You have, I don't know, time off from school, time off from your job, or like whatever the case might be. These are the movies that the summer box office used to be made of. I have no idea why they're coming out in November. Maybe they thought it was too crowded in the summer months, but they're coming out a week before Wicked is going to come in and destroy everything in its path. So again, I do wonder, like the choice of release date, if that's worked out in their favor, especially because I believe Now You See Me, Now You Don't, the release date got moved because it was coming out earlier in the year before. And so they moved it down to November 11th. They put it up against Running Man. They're going to cannibalize each other's audiences because they do have similar audiences. I think October would have been a perfect month, like Tony is suggesting, because there weren't very many movies coming out in October at all. In fact, we had like one of the worst Halloween weekends at the box office ever. So why not put these movies out like a month before, maybe even in September? Remember, we talked about September was like barren wasteland after July had all those big movies coming out. So yeah, I mean, all that aside though, Lionsgate, you know, trust them and their I guess strategy and whatever. They've had a few big misses recently. John, this Empire City box office report is basically what the World of Real article was quoting, talking about the upcoming weekend projections. Exactly right, dude. September would have been a great time to release these movies as well. But in this tweet, basically they were breaking it down. They were saying Now You See Me and Now You Don't is gonna win the weekend with a mid $20 million range number. Predator Badlands is going to have a pretty good hold, a little over a 50% decline, but it's going to come in with the high teens because it made around 40 million in its opening weekend. And then The Running Man would then come in third because it's looking at a 17 to 18 million opening weekend. So basically, it looks like The Running Man and Predator will be fighting for second spot, whereas Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which is, when you look at the star power, a higher profile movie relative to the other two.
Right.
Even though obviously you got Glenn Powell, Coleman Domingo, you got quite a few big, you know, stars. Edgar Wright has appeal in terms of, you know, as a director, he's one of those names that people go and watch at the movie theater. And Predator, obviously, people have good word of mouth. So it's possible one of these movies over indexes and then performs better than they're expecting it to. I wouldn't be surprised if this order is very different from what they're predicting. But all in all, those three movies will combine to make probably less money, a lot less money than what Wicked is projected to make in its opening weekend, which is they're looking at 125, 130 million. And these three movies will combine for maybe half of that. How do you look at this, John? Which movie do you think has the potential to finish at the very top of the box office? And which movie do you think deserves to finish at the top of the box office this weekend?
I mean, it seems like Now You See Me, Now You Don't is going to be that top spot, but I think Running Man is more deserving, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that's just me.
Yeah. Oh, congrats to Predator Badlands for doing a really, really amazing job so far. I think that movie overperformed. They were looking at 25 to 30 million dollars. It came in at like 40 million, so it did quite well. But hey, we'll wait and see how things play out. But continuing on the movie talk madness talk, John. Are we done with the movie talk madness? Is that
Yeah,
the last
we're
of it?
moving
Oh,
on
yeah.
to MCU
All right.
Weekly. So yeah. Sorry, I forgot to change the banner to Movie Talk Madness.
It's
That was
all
my
good.
bad. It's okay.
It's all good.
But
Let's get
yeah,
into Marvel talk.
so let's get into some Marvel stuff. Apparently, somehow Kunk returned. Lauren Moraes and Diane Morgan apparently are going to join Marvel series Vision Quest at Disney Plus. So if people couldn't get more excited already, but Philomena Kunk is going to be part of this wonderful little miniseries that honestly the hype grows every day. Terry Metalis is pretty much the key thing as to why this is, you know, getting any sort of validation from me, that is. But good job for them. It is Not it's not really known about what this is going to be about. It's just that Emily Hampshire is going to play Edith. James Spader is returning as Ultron. And then as well as James Darcy, I assume returning as his role from Agent Carter. And then you also have Tania Miller as well. So yeah, it's described as the third part of a trilogy that includes WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and then this. So it's seems like it's going to be playing now. This isn't 100% factual yet, but it seems like that Moraes is playing Lisa Molinari, a character closely connected to Malika's Thomas Shepard, while Morgan is playing an associate of Stashwick's character, Paladin. So, this is the biggest role yet for the former, while it's one of, Punk is known
Potential
by many
breakout
people,
roles.
so
for the
it's
other.
not going to be her biggest role. But it's cool to see Terry Metalis is pretty much the train that keeps this shit going, because I don't think anybody would be excited for this if it wasn't for him. So, let's
I
see
will
what he
say, though,
has to bring to the Marvel franchise. Hopefully it's good. But yeah. Ultron. Ultron. Voltron is Henry
Chicken bake.
Cavill, but we're not talking about him. Chicken bake, as in the Costco chicken bake, or did you make your own chicken bake? Because that's a different conversation.
I got myself a mango Doritos. Nice.
I prefer.
I never had a
Doritos.
mango. Huh?
I
Is it
prefer
Doritos or is it
Doritos, but
Doritos?
that's just
Like
me. I only have
Doritos?
water
Okay.
in my little fridge here, so
I don't know if I have a thingy opener. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just go against
anyway.
the table.
Yeah. Guess I'll try that later. But this
For
looks
people
fun.
that never
I
have
mean,
a can opener, just align it with the table and then just kind of smash it, and then you'll get the cap off. Don't
I'll
destroy
try
your
that
tables,
in a
though.
minute. Yeah, I'll try that in a minute. I was gonna say, like, it's surprising to see they're still making casting announcements. I mean, again, this is not an announcement. This is not a press release. This is just like exclusive reporting from Variety, and they got
Right.
the scoop on this. But I thought that
scoop.
show was I have no. I thought it was further along than it maybe actually is. They might still be filming it or whatnot, but. It looks fun, and so far you could tell like this Vision Quest show is not going to be one of those like mid-tier, mediocre Marvel shows. Like we've had quite a few of them. They look to be putting a lot more effort into this than what we were expecting. Because I think when maybe they retooled it and we just didn't quite know, because bringing in Terry Metalis, having the extensive cast that they have, like you said, James Darcy, that's the throwback. Because I loved him in was it Captain
Agent
Carter? What was the name? Agent Carter. I loved him in Agent Carter, and he was basically like the younger version of Jarvis. So he didn't voice Jarvis in the movies, but he played the younger, like the butler of Tony Stark's father, who then Howard Stark bases the voice of
Insert
Jarvis
sound.
on.
Oh, insert sound effect of G.I. Joe. Anyway.
By the way, we are not going to be getting Carrie Condon playing Friday. I think they hired a different actress for that. So, that kind of sucks, because I was like, damn, I would like me some more Carrie Condon after F1. But anyway, the show looks fun.
what are you gonna
John, let's keep on going, because we have more news.
Let's keep on going. Well, apparently Vision Quest, is a rumor, will feature Spoiler, my favorite Marvel
We love
character,
Spoiler. Favorite
while
character.
paving the way for two major MCU team-ups. But apparently the scooper in question, that My Time to Shine in this case, Billy is in Vision Quest, and it will tease the Champion series and Secret Wars and Wanda's return. Now, it seems like this is kind of obvious because he is technically the child of Vision.
Mhm.
However, I mean, I don't know if this is like it could be the case, but I don't know. But it would make sense because, yeah, at least one or both of them is probably going to appear in this. So,
Well, they were
Yeah.
saying that Joe Locke is coming back, and in this article, they quoted a recent interview for Elizabeth Olsen talking about how she recently met up with why am I forgetting his name? The actor playing Vision, Paul Bettany. Like, she recently met up with Paul Bettany, had a conversation, and learned a lot more about the show, and she's really excited to see what they come up with here. Kind of implying that she's not going to be in the show, even though people are thinking she's got to make a cameo, right? They're bringing her back, right? Because if they're doing pretty much every other member of the family, then why not also bring back Scarlet Witch? Or maybe they'll have a mention about her. But yeah, Joe Locke is in.
Turn your back on family.
Yeah, it looks like the Maximoff kids, Speed and Wiccan, are going to be in the show. I don't know. I still have no idea how the hell they come into existence. Like, I mean,
they were brought into existence by Wanda, and then they were like taken away, but like their souls technically existed, and so then they found new bodies, and I don't know.
I don't get it.
Marvel, none of this shit makes. In the words of Hawkeye, none of this shit makes sense. I have a bow and arrow. We're fighting robots, and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. Like, come on.
Man, by the way, Paul Bettany's a lucky guy. Like that Jennifer Connelly, he's doing very well for himself.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is interesting. It look again, this TV show, the more I learn about it, the more intrigued and excited I am about it, because of all the 5 shows Marvel has scheduled for next year, I think Vision Quest has the potential to be the best one. And that's in a year where I think Wonder Man could potentially do really good too. And then you still have Daredevil Born Again season 2. So their lineup next year is looking pretty strong on the TV side of things. And if that is a harbinger of things to come on the TV side of things for Marvel, give me more, because like I would love to see that level of quality, especially in the live action side of things. But yeah, let's keep on rolling.
Yeah, and then the last bit of MCU related news, apparently new details on the Russos' MCU involvement post Avengers, Secret Wars, and multiverse saga struggles. But so this is from the Cosmic Circus, where they're not great with stuff, so obviously
Alex Perez,
take it
right?
with a
Like
grain of
he's
salt.
Go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
they have this. So, as I understand, Marvel's bringing in the Russos along for the ride post Secret Wars as part of the famous Marvel Parliament, basically just overseeing the general story for the next saga. Okay, cool. If this is true, then we're in for another decade of dog shit, because they want to avoid the mistakes they made with the multiverse saga in trying to branch out to many different story points and having multiple open endings without having a clear direction. Like, the main idea of the saga was to basically introduce the idea of the multiverse so Marvel could play around in the sandbox and do things they never really get a chance to do if it was just their main established universe, and they wanted to try out new elements and explore new corners of the MCU while trying to find ways to relate it to the multiverse, ultimately to get to this point where incursions are happening in the main universe and the multiverse is about to end. And of course, introduce cameos of previous heroes here and there. Obviously, because of COVID, that put a damper on things, so the Russos allegedly are here for the long haul, and they're going to just try and have like a tighter knit story and continuity and just actually have people in charge, aka literally just doing what the DCU is doing, which was also a treatment, which was also a reaction to what was happening with the now established MCU. So yeah.
Well, the Marvel Parliament is like
their
yeah, it's meant to be kind of like, it's a term to describe their writer's room, like the brain, like they have a writer's room that kind of controls, like, and decides like what the overarching stories are that they're telling for their movies and TV shows and everything else. So Kevin Feige's a part of it, obviously. I think we've talked, like Brad Winderbaum, who runs the TV side of things, is a part of it. And now it looks like, according to Alex Perez in the Cosmic Circus, which again, take it with a grain of salt, he's saying that the Russo brothers will stick around and be a part of the Marvel process and the Marvel circle after the 2 Avengers movies, because they've done a pretty good job. I mean, I would say they did a better job than what we have seen the last few years post Endgame, of keeping the stories aligned and the threads sort of, somewhat untangled. And clearly, I think it was not just the fact that they made bad projects. It was also the mandates coming from a regime that's no longer in charge at Disney, aka Bob Chapek and co. And then also you had the COVID pandemic, the strikes, all of those things combined to give us clearly probably the lowest point in the history of the MCU. So now bringing back the Russos because of the success and the track record that they had, I'm okay with that. I mean, John, do you think this will be a good idea? How closely involved do you think the Russos would end up being with the MCU post Avengers? Because ultimately we're going from the multiverse saga to the mutant saga. So the X-Men, I mean, there's just a million new set of characters that we'll have to introduce, while it's not like the Avengers will disappear.
So, Tony,
so come on back, John. Come on. I don't think that he was talking about you.
I was
But
kidding. That was the joke.
the idea, I was gonna ask you the question though. The idea that the Russos would stay involved because they kind of walked away from the MCU and wanted to do their own thing for a while. They haven't
And
had
then
a
they
ton of
realized,
success.
oh shit, we can't make movies outside of the MCU.
So
Fuck, we got to come crawling back.
I mean,
Hey,
they've taken
this
Netflix
money,
for all
Kevin
they've
Feige?
got.
Yeah, sure. Here you go. Throws money at them. Cool,
But
we're in.
do you think like having the Russos around is a good thing for Marvel to kind of keep all
No,
these
not at
storylines?
all.
Because James Gunn is no longer around. Like, how closely involved will the Russos even be? Like, what do you think they're gonna end up directing
if
more movies?
they're there to like keep continuity in line, sure. It's just like they got lucky, I think, with like Winter Soldier, and then everything was downhill from there. I think because the problem with the Russos I have is that they're very sanitized with their filmmaking. They're very like it's just like the most basic shit, the flattest looking cinematography, the most generic looking um like just overall look to it. It's so muted and gray and gross to look at, and then there's no like edge. If they say like, oh, we our inspiration is this, our inspiration is that, it's like I don't feel that in the final product. It's like, oh, we were inspired by Seven Samurai, and then it's just like a flat gray screen. It's like, okay, cool, great. And meanwhile it's like Guillermo del Toro like does Frankenstein, and he's like, oh yeah, my Barry Lyndon and this thing, Medusa, and this and that, and the other, these paintings, this thing. It's like I see that in the final product. I see where the inspiration's from. Russo's like, oh yes, we were inspired by Kurosawa and Universal Monsters, and it's just like the dullest and most boring photography I have ever seen in a fucking movie. And it's just they do the most basic stuff, the most surface level concepts, the most boring stories, and it's just like so lame. Also, hello. That it's just like I feel like people are starting to realize that they are not the great directors that everyone saw them as for so long. That it's just like, okay, whatever, cool, great. Get the fuck out of here, because it shows that their movies outside of the MCU just didn't get any traction whatsoever. Like Gray Man, I think Cherry was another one. All of these movies just were like not good, and nobody cared about them. And I think that it just shows that much like the MCU and much like them, it's just like we're not in the mood for flat boring crap anymore. And so you know it's just like whatever. So if they're there for continuity's sake, sure, I guess you need somebody, and I guess that they're good yes men for Kevin Feige, so cool. But but I think if you want like someone with creative drive, get someone who can like actually fucking do that, who are not the Russo brothers. So, but that's just my opinion.
No, I hear you. I think it goes to show you the bar is pretty low at Marvel in a lot of ways, because I do think the Russos. Like, here's the thing though. If they're going to be there to kind of help with continuity and those kind of things, like just behind the scenes, pulling the strings, that requires a different skill set than necessarily being like the filmmaker with the most flair, right? Like there's very few, and I think even with James Gunn, the jury's still out. There's very few filmmakers out there who have that creativity, the creative mind, the visual genius, the storytelling genius of a James Gunn, of a Christopher Nolan, but they can also then run an entire cinematic universe and keep all the different storylines and movies and TV shows all in sync with each other in a way where like you're not doing having issues with continuity or leaving all these loose threads lying around. And the Russos might not be the best. I agree with you. I don't think they are the best directors. They come from a TV background, and I don't think they've grown too much beyond that. You could tell that, like you just mentioned, like, I mean, I think it's a little bit unfair to compare anybody to Guillermo del Toro. There's very few people in this world, in the world of filmmaking.
That was just the first thing that came to mind. That's all.
But I see your point. I know what you're getting at, though. And there's the Russos are certainly not anywhere close to that level of directorialship or auteurship. So on that level, yes, I think maybe the Russos being back and helping out with the continuity and those kind of things and being part of the Marvel Parliament, not necessarily directing a lot of stuff, but just being there as to the shepherds are part of the team that Kevin Feige has, that could be a good thing. I think Kevin Feige could use a little more of that because he's got a lot on his shoulders these days, and sharing some of that responsibility might help because they've certainly shown already with the changes they've been making in recent years, like Vision Quest looks pretty good. Like it looks actually really, really good. They've got the right people in charge behind the scenes. The casting looks fantastic. And I mean, James Spader is returning to the MCU. Like that's a good thing. And then you've got, I think, Wonder Woman, which looks good. The concept is strong. It's like Toy Story 5, really strong concept. It could go very terribly wrong, but the concept is good, and so far the trailers are good. So they've got a few good things going. I think with the event, they're committed to the whole idea. We're not gonna do 5 movies a year. We're not gonna do 3 movies a year. In 2027, we just have 1 movie coming out. So they're committing to the quality over quantity. The Daredevil Born Again just completely retooling it has worked out well. So hopefully the Russos sticking around after potentially, Avengers Secret Wars means that they continue this trend of getting back to making good quality comic book cinema and television, not just pushing out, 5-10 things a year and giving us, a bunch of mediocre bullshit. That's, I think, the goal here. And I think the Russos being there in the background helping with that is a good thing for the most part. I guess we'll find out if they're going to be directing more movies after Avengers, which if they do, maybe there's a good fit. I don't know. Maybe there is a couple of X-Men movies. They could do an X-Men movie. They can do some other, X-Men character related movie. Maybe they can be the guys who do the next Avengers movies after these 2 Avengers movies. Like they're the go-to Avengers directors moving forward. They also have a bunch of other really good filmmakers still in their stable, with Ryan Coogler, Destin Daniel Cretton, and you've got a number of other good filmmakers and storytellers and directors that Marvel has that they can lean on. But the Russos, they've got a good track record. It's hard to argue with at least the box office success of the movies they've been behind. But like you said, John, there seems to be some kind of magic sauce when Kevin Feige and the Russos collaborate, because that sauce is not there when the 2 of them are working. I mean, Kevin Feige has had success without the Russos. The Russos not so much without Kevin Feige. So we'll see. Let's see how far this partnership takes the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys let us know in the comments what you think about that. In the meantime, John, I think we have to move on. We're getting into the quicker part of the news. So let's dive into that.
So let's get into the quick hits. And the first thing we have is apparently Lufa is coming back.
Lufa is back.
Idris Elba is going to be coming back as his most popular character. There's going to be a sequel at Netflix after Fallen Son, or whatever the hell it was called, which was mid. A lot of people said it was mid. I never saw it. I never got a chance to. I just, got busy with other things. And it was one of the things that's like, hey, I want to watch this movie. And then my parents watch it without me. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I just don't exist.
I hate it when that happens. Like people, I'm like, I thought we were going to watch this together.
Like literally,
right?
There was a movie I wanted to watch with my parents. I literally brought it to their attention. I was like, hey, let's watch this movie together. It was like this cheesy Netflix movie called Nanas, because it's like I'm half Italian. So, it was like, it's a cute little movie. It's got like a bunch of older actors that my parents like. And I was like, I brought it to their attention. And I'm like, hey, let's watch this movie together. And then like a week or so later, I was like, oh yeah, let's watch that movie. And they're like, oh, we already watched it. I brought it to your attention. You literally would not know about this movie if it wasn't for me. The fuck, bro?
Yeah, and you have to think that you wouldn't want to watch that movie, right? Like I've been in that situation. It sucks.
Like, we didn't. How about ask me? We have these phones that you could just be like, hey, dickhead, like, are you interested in this movie?
Like I had to tell Fiona, we're watching this show together. So hold on to the next episode. Don't watch it without me. It's like you have to
just
specify.
Like, be very clear. Communication. Anyway, just a little bit of a side rant, but next up,
this is great. I like
getting another adaptation of something.
More hijack.
I don't know. Bad segue. Sabrina Carpenter is apparently going to lead an Alice in Wonderland inspired musical at Universal, which this could be very interesting. I'm not really interested in Sabrina Carpenter as a singer or a musician. Nothing against her. It's just not my type of music. However, I do love Alice in Wonderland. I think that's a very creative world. And if they do something that's more in tune with Lewis Carroll's original novel, that could be something very interesting. And like having the modern edge of her and then bring in the old school vibe of the novel and then having those interact could be a recipe for success, maybe, possibly.
I think so. Well, this is a musical, obviously, it says that in the headline, and you might be wondering, well, doesn't Warner Brothers have the Alice in Wonderland movie rights and stuff? Well, this is based on the original novel, which is in the public domain, so they can do it over at Universal, and having Sabrina Carpenter lead a new musical that's inspired by that original Alice in Wonderland novel makes sense. She's a hot star right now. She's still a rising star, if you want to call it that, and Universal will not have the Wicked movies to lean on after this year, so making a new Alice in Wonderland inspired musical could work. Is it going to be as popular as Wicked? Probably not, but I'm excited to see what this becomes, because this is also going to be the first time Sabrina Carpenter is going to lead a big feature adaptation of anything. Like, she hasn't really had a big movie career, so
she hasn't had any movie career, I don't think. Like, it was mainly like TV stuff
on Disney Channel and stuff.
Yeah, she was with Disney, so you know, that was it pretty much. But yeah,
so we'll see. This looks exciting. I hope it turns into something good. So.
We will see. But next up, news I'm very excited for. Apparently, Alien Earth has been renewed. Noah Hawley inks new deal with FX, and I'm a happy man. Even though Alien Earth season 1 could have been a lot better, I will still say Alien Earth still like it nailed a lot of aspects of the original film, the original Alien film. And I think it like stayed in tune to what made that movie so good to begin with, but it tried to do its own thing, and for the most part it succeeded, but sometimes it just kind of didn't. But it kind of, and it also lost trail of the plot, and it kind of had a mid ending, but for the most part I thought it was a very good show. But yeah, love to see it. Excited to see season 2. Hopefully it is better than season 1, and hopefully it works a lot better and it's more cohesive than what we got for the first season. So yeah, next up, in terms of the other major sci-fi horror franchise, Predator Badland director on potential sequel and introducing the franchise's first blank. So apparently during an interview with Variety, Dan Trachtenberg had this to say: "What I love about that ending is that it works as a final twist on the story that we've just been seeing, but also sets up an expectation for something that I think is pretty groovy. If I were to go forward, I don't think that would be the whole reason, but that would be a very cool element to include. What's so great is we now have all these interesting characters, and who knows what the next one is. I didn't know the next one was going to be Killer of Killers or Deck's story, and then it ended up we were doing both at the same time. There's many open doors to walk through next, that's for sure. So while yes, we don't know what the future will hold, I am very positive that it will hold a great future for this franchise, both Alien Earth and this. We're gonna have great I feel like are great entries in said franchises, and we might have a renaissance of both. So way to go, guys. And
by the way, did you read the last paragraph in this article? I think it's really kind of interesting what he says there.
It can all go out the door once we start putting pen to paper on stuff, but I looked as far as I could to feel comfortable about what I'm doing. Every movie is a complete thought, not that much unlike the early Marvel stuff before the first Avengers movie, goated, where it's like those are great movies, and lo and behold, we're actually setting up that things could come together in a delicious way, but they weren't like, see how everything's interconnected like crazy all of a sudden. So I'm trying to learn that lesson and make sure that any of these movies that we do are awesome ideas for movies on their own. So yeah, I think that's great.
I mean, the fact that he's saying like we want to make these movies stand on their own and not just all of a sudden get into the habit of making them feel like episodes of a larger TV show, which Marvel eventually ended up becoming. And I think that's where people started to fall off, because in the early days of Marvel, each of those movies told a story that stood on its own and was a great movie regardless of whether it was part of a larger cinematic universe or not. And the fact that Dan Trachtenberg recognizes that, and he's like, that's the goal here. Like, you want each of these individual projects to work really well on their own. They don't need to. So if for whatever reason tomorrow they told us that we're not doing any more stuff for Predator or Alien, I want any of these movies to be great solo outings, while also potentially then, you know, leading to, you know, good crossover potential. So yeah, I think this whole franchise under Dan Trachtenberg has taken on a huge resurgence, and I hope that we get more good Predator content. Yeah, so there we go. I know you're excited about that, John.
Most definitely. Next up, well, just the downfall of humanity. Going further, All's Fair laughs off the hate with 3.2 million views. Hulu's biggest scripted series debut in 3 years, just proving that any publicity is good publicity.
I hope that most of those people were hate watching it.
An onslaught of hate. People are like, "Oh, this terrible show. Let's go watch it."
Worst show ever.
Watching, and yeah, it sucks, guys. If you want to hate watch a show, remember, if you want to hate watch a show, pirate it. There you go. So you don't give any views to this garbage. But you know, humanity is doomed, as Caleb says. So, yep, garbage. Fuck Kim Kardashian. Fuck this TV show.
I mean, don't they have the Kardashians, like Keeping Up the Kardashians on Hulu? So like, there's a lot of Kardashian fans already on Hulu. So I think this is probably strategically done, and whatever. I guess it's paying off for them.
Anyway, a Different World sequel picked up to series at Netflix. I don't know what the fuck this is. Dan, do you have anything to say about it?
I barely saw this back in the day. It looks interesting though. It looks like a legacy sequel, right? So to a something that was popular, not that popular, but like back in the day. We'll wait to see what this turns into. A Different World. It's kind of like, you know, when they did Fuller House and other things like that. So
yeah, cool, great, don't care. Anyway,
the original is still going to
be
the more iconic.
To air uncut on TNT in December with nudity and graphic medical imagery intact, which is interesting because, like, is it different from the HBO Max version, or is it the same thing? It's just like the HBO Max version had the nudity and graphic medical imagery,
right?
And that part is going to be appeared on TNT.
Yeah, so they're gonna give you the uncut version that HBO Max had, because usually you would, you know, edit it down, you know, to change it up and take out the nudity and all the extra blood and graphic medical imagery because you want to format it for cable television. So I guess they're probably gonna give it like a rated M or whatever. What is it? TVM, and then
yeah,
you know, user discretion is advised. So yeah,
indeed. But yeah, that's very cool.
I mean, this is their biggest thing going right now. Like, surprisingly enough, it won a shit ton of Emmys, so good on them, because the new season comes out soon, and this will hopefully raise the profile of the show with even people that haven't seen it yet, which there's not many, but yeah.
But big streamers bet on increasingly aggressive pause ads to stop viewers in their tracks. So what exactly does this mean?
So basically, I don't know if you have any streaming services with ads, but if you hit pause, instead of just pausing and showing you the still whatever you paused on, there's a lot of streaming services now, more and more of them. I think Amazon Prime might do it, and there's a few others. I think Hulu might do it, where they'll show you an ad. So you hit pause, and all of a sudden an ad starts playing. You can hit play, and the ad will go away, but like while you hit pause, it shows you an ad, and it's trying to get your attention. So you're like, I'm gonna hit pause and go use the bathroom. All of a sudden an ad starts playing, and if it's catching your attention, and all of a sudden you're like, not going to the bathroom. So, or like, it's just, they're trying to like sell, basically streaming services are trying to sell more ad
cool.
space, and
people are
like
going to just stop pausing,
so,
like, their videos now. Great, cool.
Yeah.
We're just gonna, so essentially it's literally the whole convenience of streaming is when you pause something, boom, you're right back. No, now you have to watch an ad. So literally they're just turning everything back to cable TV. They literally are just bringing back cable TV.
In cable TV, you had DVR, you could skip ad. Here's the thing, though. I think you can just hit play, and then the ad will stop. So it's not like you have to be forced to watch it.
It's dumb.
Right.
Very dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, stupid. Speaking of stupid, YouTube TV will issue $20 credits to customers who experience Disney blackouts. So, you know,
this guy. I got an email, but you know what the clever thing that they did? Those clever bastards, Google, Alphabet, motherfuckers, YouTube TVs, they are making you opt into this bullshit. They don't give it to you automatically on your bill. I have an email where I have to click through something, and then go opt into it so it applies the $20 credit on my YouTube TV. Because, so for example, if somebody out there who subscribed to YouTube TV does not do that, they won't get the credit. It's not an automatic credit. So they're like, if you know, it's up to you to put in the effort to get these $20 credit. And I'm like, fuck you for making me do that, but fine. I have to click a few buttons to do this bullshit, but that's being, you know, these sly bastards that they are. But hey, Disney's also being sly bastards. So,
speaking of sly bastards, Ryan Reynolds apparently is going to be remaking a 1970s crime movie, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, for Amazon MGM. So now a movie that was made with two great leads is now with a great Oscar-winning director is now going to be made by the douchebag from the Deadpool franchise. Cool, great. I hate my life. Anyway, Elsa Pataki joins Jessica Alba, Tom Hopper, and Angus Sampson in spy thriller The Mark. I don't fucking.
Hey, remember she's the mother of Dom's child. Elsa Pataki was in the couple of Fast and Furious movies. She is also in real life. Anyway, well, in real life, in real life, she's the mother of Love from Thor: Love and Thunder, because she's Thor's real life wife and mother of their children.
Fantastic Four is Jessica Alba confirmed she's dating Captain America: Brave New World star, and I don't know who that is, and I don't feel like
it's Danny Ramirez. It's the new Falcon.
Oh, it's the Falcon. Nobody gives a fuck.
It's the new Falcon. Go down. There's photos. Go down. There's photos.
Yeah, because
he's like in his 30s. So the thing, he's in his 30s, she's in her 40s. They're having a great time. I'm like, they look like a happy couple. So
I thought she was married.
I thought so too. I don't know. Maybe that ended.
She got divorced. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Whatever. Anyway, but apparently Apple is now once again duping their dumbass customers with stupid shit by making an overly expensive sock that you can put around your torso that you can probably knit for 3 cents, but like, sure. Yeah. Apple's doing something fucking stupid. Wow. I could have fucking told you that. Crazy.
This is like a collaboration with like a Japanese designer, and the marketing copy, like what they say to market this thing in this article, is some of the worst marketing bullshit I've ever seen, because it's like trying to make it up like, oh, it's about the experience of like having an iPhone and be a part of your body and blah blah. It's like, I'm like, it's a fucking $230 sock that's gonna hold the phone. You know what I can do? I can get one of those woolen socks. I can cut it down the middle and sew up the other two sides, and then just wear it the same way and stick an iPhone in there. What's the difference? Like, it will probably cost me like $20 at that.
I mean, it's still better than Netflix. Like, I'll give them
that.
It's
such bullshit. It's such, because remember, like, Apple's the same company that sold like what was like a $200 Apple Watch strap and stuff. Like some idiots actually bought. They're trying to make it like, these are lifestyle accessories. No, they're not. And this is such stupid.
But bullshit. Hey, you know what? This shit works because their dumbass fucking customers are gonna buy it. So like, clearly it's gonna work.
So, anyway.
But apparently, Dom and the gang are at it again. Maybe ancient Roman era statues taken during brazen museum heist in Damascus. So, yeah. Family? Are they the reasons for this? Who knows?
This is like the second big time.
No, this was the third.
Heist.
There was another one where coins were stolen from another British museum. Yeah. Or was it a French museum? I don't remember.
Well, the Louvre was the. Wow.
Well, the first was the Louvre. Then, like, coins were taken from a French or a British museum, and then now
they took statues. Roman. They're just getting more and more brazen. They're just like, they took entire statues from a freaking museum. It's not like they're stealing jewelry anymore. You know what? You might be right. There might be a real life Dom crew, Toretto crew out there.
Most definitely.
What's real is family.
Hell yeah. Anyway, that's it for Quick Hits, guys. We're done.
Some
Goodbye.
Wild stuff there. Damn.
We're done.
Whew. You know, this does provide them ideas for maybe 3 more Fast and Furious movies.
Let's hope not. Let's end it with Fast X Part 2, and then we're done. We're done. That's it. Bam. There we go.
Can you imagine? Because they were stealing car radios in the first movie. This would be like a more upscale Fast and Furious.
And Panasonic isn't even a company anymore. I don't think.
No, they are a company. They just don't make TVs anymore. They are still a company. They don't make the
Okay.
TVs that they used to.
Sure. Thanks for watching this side of the news. Obviously, we're going to be getting to DCU Daily, and let's get into that now rather than later.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to DCU Daily. I'm your host, Sean. Lovely. Very lovely to see you all. And we also have Dan. Dan to introduce.
Hello.
As well. On time. Boom. There we go. Perfect. Now we're here to talk about DC Daily,
Wow.
which
I
is
feel
not
called out for that.
a lot of stuff. Very slow DC day, but that's okay. We're still going to get into
Isn't
it.
it,
We have a
isn't it
hot
Dick
take
Grayson's
to get
birthday
into,
today?
so that's cool too.
Yeah.
But why don't we just jump into it then? With that, James Gunn saying job interviews are intimidating enough
Yeah.
without all the cameras. So just a quick behind the scenes image of the most hated thing in the history of existence, apparently, according to some people. That's Reeves. So yeah, just like the very early scenes of episode 1 of season 2 with your boys Guy Gardner, Maxwell Lord, and Hawkgirl, in addition to Peacemaker interviewing for the Justice Gang. So hell yeah.
I think this was interesting because you could tell this is an interesting behind the scenes look to how James Gunn likes to shoot his TV shows and movies, because there's some directors out there who very much know what they want, exactly what they want, and they will just do single camera shoots, next camera setup, next Clint Eastwood and stuff. This is obviously a TV show, but we know James Gunn did the same thing with Superman, the new movie. Like, he shoots with multiple cameras. So you clearly see here they've got at least 3, if not possibly 4 or 5 cameras running at the same time. So they're getting all the cutaways together to all the individual, the medium shots of Guy Gardner, Maxwell Lord, Hawkgirl, Peacemaker. And then they probably will do some of the other wider shots and other, angles that are more complicated and more complex separately. So from a filmmaker's approach, you can see this tells you a lot about how, James Gunn likes to do, how he likes to work as a director, how he likes to produce these shows and movies. Which, look, this is a very efficient way of doing things because you get a lot more shots, but then with all that extra coverage, you're going to be like going through all those angles. You have more choices for the editor. I think some filmmakers prefer that they have this very one specific thing in mind, this one vision, and that's what they will go with. And so there's not a whole lot of, wiggle room. Whereas here, when you have so much coverage, as is the industry term, you can then go and play with all of that and turn it into something that you feel like will come together the best way possible in post-production. So, and I know James Gunn does have obviously storyboards, so he has some specific ideas about how he wants to go about these things, but still,
daisies.
This is fun. Again, it shows you a lot of pretty much almost everything in that sequence there in that particular scene was in camera. There's not a lot of VFX stuff going on there. That's why I like the costumes that they went with here, because they can easily translate into a TV show costume. Yeah, enhance. Because John, like if they had a Green Lantern costume that was very CGI heavy for Guy Gardner, then accounting for that cost for a TV show is a very different ball game than what they were doing for a Superman movie, because the movie will generally have a bigger budget. So again, I like the approach James Gunn has. It's an approach that works. It's effective. You could tell it prioritizes more, in-camera practical approaches to filmmaking, but at the same time, it gives them a lot of flexibility in post-production to put the pieces together however they like. So, yeah. he almost got abducted by aliens in the last season, but anyway, now he's on an alien planet, so there's that too.
Yes. Anyway, now we have the man is still reminiscing, stoking the flames. Here we go. Yeah,
What are you
but
laughing
Zack
at?
Snyder has
Captain, I just think
revealed
he's kind of hot. Like it's.
revealed to those who stand for truth, justice, and freedom, grateful today and every day. Thank you. Veterans Day.
It
So
is
yeah, he's
Veterans
celebrating
Day.
Veterans Day by posting someone who is not a veteran, who the character is not a veteran, but like, sure, cool.
But
Hero,
this is
I
his.
guess, is
It's
synonymous.
symbolic. It's
Yeah,
symbolic.
I guess.
You know, Superman, American flag. So it makes sense. And Henry Cavill, quite frankly, is the most handsome Superman of all time. So, and that shot, that whole sequence,
Dean
I love it.
Cain. Hell yeah.
No, I think Henry
I'm
Cavill still
kidding.
takes it.
That was a joke.
Yeah. Calm down, Caleb. Nobody's snapping.
Yeah,
necks today.
tell that to Snap Neck.
I have not heard that Comcast and Saudis are teaming up against Paramount. Where did you hear that, Hunter? Let us know. I'll see if I can find that.
I did hear that there were Saudi Arabians that were like that whole thing that they were interested. Now, I don't know how much weight to it there was, but I did see like a passing like article. I don't know if it was like not even an article. I think it was like a picture or something. So it's probably BS, but like I did see something there is. So it's
so the CEO of Comcast, Brian Roberts, recently met with with somebody from the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the PIF, which basically owns they basically now own part of the PGA Tour because the Live Golf. They also own Newcastle United. They've got a bunch of other investments. They own part of Zuffa Boxing we were talking about yesterday, which is then the other part of it is owned by TKO. So they make a lot of big investments. And recently Brian Roberts was in Saudi Arabia. So it's speculation. I wouldn't necessarily put a ton of stock into it. Certainly a Comcast bid that's backed by the Saudis would hold a lot of weight in the sense that they've got money to spend, and $40 billion, for example, for part of the bid is certainly easy money for them. Ultimately, they wouldn't be the ones calling the shots. I think Comcast would be the creative heads in charge, but we'll see if that turns into anything. I'll bring that in for the tier list Tuesday tomorrow.
Yep.
But yeah, this is great. Look, I love Man of Steel. I couldn't be happier to see Zack Snyder sharing another shot of Henry Cavill in the suit. And happy Veterans Day. I think Superman has been synonymous with true justice and the American way, and I think it's apt for Zack Snyder to share this on Veterans Day. So regardless of whether you liked or did not like the movie, that is the Superman movie Zack Snyder directed. It would be weird if you shared the David Cornsweet Superman. So, anywho.
Right. But you know who doesn't know? Scotty. Anyway,
it's true.
Next up, final DC story. Apparently, Batman director Matt Reeves reveals his thoughts on Superman in resurfaced interview. But apparently, a while ago, he was talking 2010. This was when he was promoting Let Me In. He had this to say. He denied having had a meeting with Christopher Nolan back when they were trying to get Man of Steel off the ground, but stated he was flattered to be on the short list of directors for the project. Well, I think it's an amazing story and can be incredibly interesting to do. It's not true that I have actually had many meetings with Chris Nolan, and I know that people are looking at the movie over at Warner Bros., but I don't know if it has anything to do with that. It was flattering and cool to be on the list, and I have tremendous respect for Chris. I mean, who fucking doesn't at this point? I think it speaks...
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
He had this to say in regards to the character in total. I think it speaks to an American optimism, but he's also an outsider and a freak of sorts. And I don't know. There's something great in the myth. I'm drawn to it. To me, that's what this story was. Linkvist, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, created a great vampire myth that was about something else. And I think the only thing that would interest me in a personal involvement on that project was, to me, finding the subtext that had some resonance. And there's no question that that film is going to be a real challenge. But I think with those smart people involved, there is a chance they'll do something very interesting with it. So yeah, he's views it as interesting. Not the man for the job, but yeah.
I mean, so this is going back to a time when Christopher Nolan was working with David Goyer on the script for Man of Steel. And there was this short list, in the news, the short list of directors that we're potentially talking to. And Christopher Nolan met with a few of these names, including Zack Snyder, who ultimately directed the movie. And of course, Matt Reeves was one of the names mentioned. and this is an old interview that Matt Reeves did where he was talking about like what he thinks about the character of Superman, and he did call him like a bit of a freak, but I think in a more of a sense of like he's an outsider, he's an immigrant, like it's, and those aspects of the story. And so obviously Zack Snyder got the movie ultimately, but I do wonder, John, I do wonder what kind of movie we would have gotten if Man of Steel was directed by Matt Reeves instead.
I know. Well, I know there are a couple people that.
By the way, this is pre-Planet of the Apes Matt Reeves too. So just think of it. Keep that in mind too.
Yeah, and then on top of the fact there were Jonathan Liebsen, who would have been a fucking horrendously awful choice. Tony Scott, who was pretty much the favorite. David Esquire has said this in many interviews that they wanted Tony Scott to direct the movie. They were going to get him, but the problem was he unfortunately passed away before they could actually, have talks and do anything with him. So they just couldn't, do that. But Tony Scott was the guy, and honestly, that would have been I think that would have been way better than what we got. I think Tony Scott was probably the perfect man to do a Superman film, and I don't think that the movie industry would be the way it is today if we got that Tony Scott Man of Steel. But Duncan Jones could have been interesting, but with his big budget background not really taking off, probably for the best. And then Matt Reeves allegedly, but he says that that was not the case. So, but I think we could have gotten, the state of superhero media would definitely be very different if we got a different director for Man of Steel. But, that's beside the case. But yeah, I think this is definitely an interesting what if scenario, but
I mean, it might have been a 3.5 hour movie where Superman went around solving riddles and brooding in the wet rain instead of doing, I don't know. I'm just being facetious, but it's one of those what if situations where you got to think about how different things could have been if indeed Matt Reeves was the one directing that Man of Steel script, because two directors can take the same script and give you two very different movies. And obviously putting Matt Reeves in, and again, a pre-Planet of the Apes Matt Reeves, he hadn't had that experience yet. So, but he didn't have that on his resume. So I think getting the Batman, you were looking at a very different profile of director in Matt Reeves. Whereas back then, going with Zack Snyder, I think wasn't a bad choice because the guy had done Watchmen. He had done multiple movies for Warner Brothers. He had the experience. He knew how to work in a studio environment. Obviously, in hindsight, not everything went well. I still think that the DCEU was better for having Zack Snyder direct that movie compared to some of the other names on that list. Because obviously, like you said, Tony Scott passed away. Unfortunately, Matt Reeves went on to do some other big things. Like, we probably wouldn't have gotten the Batman from Matt Reeves if he had done Man of Steel, because his career might have gone in a completely different direction, and the DCEU would have probably gone in a different direction, because I don't know if Matt Reeves was going to come into it and then direct a Batman v Superman, or like have the 5-movie plan that Zack Snyder had, which, for better or for worse, things played out a certain way. It could have been a very different world. I would like to see what that alternate reality might have looked like, but you could see that Matt Reeves understands Superman, though. Like, he understands the character of Superman fairly well, which is good to see that he understands the ethos. I think Zack Snyder does too in a lot of ways, but again, he wanted to showcase a very specific version of the story, and then obviously he doubled down on some of his worst tendencies afterwards. But yeah, Matt Reeves could have been a good Superman director. Maybe he can direct a future Superman movie. Who knows? He's definitely involved in the Batman side of things across all of DC Studios, so yeah, it would have been a very different movie. I think so too, enterprising. By the way, before we get to Hot Take Debate, just want to say today, November 11th, is traditionally considered Dick Grayson's birthday in the comics. So happy birthday, Dick Grayson.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
Very cool. But thanks for watching, DCU Daily. Again, it was a very small DCU Daily today. But again, the ride's not over yet.
My man.
There we go. Anyway, so now we're going to go into Hot Take Debate with our lovely little intro. So let's get into that and get ready from the hottest of takes. Hotter than Henry Cavill.
By the way, it's a very DC themed Hot Take Debate. So yeah.
Boom, let's get into it.
Who is that?
Retarded.
Retired. I'm already in the void. I'm not trying to get canceled again.
I don't like you.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
Black rubber.
Ooh, you nasty, mon beauté rouge. Les le bon temps relais, hein?
Not a single word.
You bring your scarred psyche.
I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Pathetic. Psychopath. Taking attention.
You were just leaving.
Oh, no, 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 no! No!
Oh boy. Today is a hot take debate day. Isn't that so lovely, everybody? But welcome back. I am still your host, John. So very lovely to see you all. And we still have Dan in here. So let's not get too into the little grimiest of details and let's get into the hot takes.
With responsibility, John, great power will come.
Yes, great power will come.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing that's coming. These hot takes are coming, so let's fucking go. Well, it
You
depends
said it,
what
not
hot
me.
is. Yes. Sharing is caring. Yes, very much so.
What am I
but,
sharing? We're sharing hot take debates.
We're
what
sharing content and debates and hot takes and all the things.
We're
Anyway,
sharing your hot takes.
Let's
you guys gave us these hot takes.
The very first hot take. Whoa, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, wall of text. Let's go. All right, already starting off hot. Nelson Moreno saying, and I think Caleb would appreciate this, Jared Leto was a good Joker. My favorite quote from him was when he was moments away from pushing Harley Quinn to the chemical tank. Would you die for me? Yes, that's too easy. Would you live for me? The Batman chase scene was a good part of the movie. The scene with him and Common was good too. Honka honka. Joker is known as the Clown Prince of Gotham, and Leto's take for a gangster version of the character matched that. He also had a good Joker. Here's the thing. No.
Well, we know Nelson's a real person. I actually know Nelson, and so I know, Caleb, this is not your alt account. But sorry, go ahead, John.
But here's the thing. The attempt was there, especially it was essentially to do a modern golden age version of the Joker, because the original Joker was essentially just a gangster who wore clown makeup. That was just the character. That's what Jack Nicholson portrayed, and then Cesar Romero was more the Silver Age Joker, and then pretty much every Joker after that, outside of Jared Leto, was the Bronze Modern Age, which was the insane psychopath type character.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with M2G. It's a great line. There were some great lines, great aspects of that movie. It fell to pieces because they got a trailer company to edit their fucking movie, and it just, I don't think he was a good Joker. He's probably the weakest Joker we've ever gotten. That includes, Joaquin Phoenix even after Folie à Deux. So, I think this is, it's definitely a hot take. It's a hot take I don't agree with. And I think it's just a very poorly executed, decent idea of the character. So.
Yeah, it's the hottest of takes. Nelson, I appreciate your take. I do think there's elements of that Jared Leto performance in the first Suicide Squad movie that were good, that we should have gotten more of, but ultimately we didn't. And I think overall it felt like it was half-baked in a lot of ways, because again, so much of it got cut out, and then they kind of doubled down on the wrong elements in future appearances, and not that he got many more appearances as the Joker. I just think it was a missed opportunity in a lot of ways. I wish we had seen more of his performance and the version of the movie that David Ayer wanted to showcase. I'm not saying that movie would have been miles better than the one we got. I still think the movie we got, that Suicide Squad movie, is a fun, watchable movie. I know I'm in the minority on that, but look, I was willing to give it a shot. Like, I was like, this is a very different Joker from what we got in the Dark Knight trilogy. This is very different from Jack Nicholson's Joker. So why not? Like, we hadn't gotten Joaquin Phoenix's Joker yet, but like all of these Joker characters and iterations have been different in unique ways, where I'm willing to stay open and be like, sure, let's see what this turns into. I'm willing to give it a shot. I personally was even open to the idea of like, let's do another project that builds on this and gives us more of what Jared Leto wanted to showcase. Because if you remember, the movie kind of starts out with heavily focusing on the Joker, and then you see him kind of splice in and out of the story, but then it ends with him breaking Harley Quinn out of prison. So Jared Leto's Joker was a bigger part of the movie than some people might remember, even though he wasn't as big a part of the movie as they originally intended. So I know, Tony, you think it's a bad take. But that's what makes it a hot take. And look, Jared Leto at this point, we have talked about it, beating that horse to death. The idea that he's maybe not the best actor, and that maybe he takes the whole idea of method acting and has a really twisted understanding of it. But yeah, Nelson, I think it's good that you appreciated that version of the Joker. It's not my favorite version of the Joker, but I definitely think your take is a hot take, and it's a good hot take, because I'm sure there are others out there who did like that version of the Joker. He's a big part of our mythos on this channel for a reason. So it's iconic for the good or the bad reasons. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honka honka.
Anyway.
Honka honka. Let's go on to the next one. The Harbinger. He says Man of Steel themes and story and acting are better than Superman 7. No. Nope. And Dan left because he knew this was a bullshit take.
Oh wait, whoa! That's not what I said. I think Man of Steel's story and theme and acting are better than Superman 1978. I'm sorry. I am sorry. It's like saying Rogue. Look, it's better. It's just simply better. That movie does not age as well. It's good. This is my personal opinion, so I'm gonna say it's it is a good hot take, but I personally think Man of Steel is the best Superman movie ever made. It is superior to the 1978 movie in a lot of ways, but the 1978 Superman was very different. So I think it's kind of unfair to compare them because there's two different eras. Movies were made differently. The expectation of the lead character in a superhero movie was different, and in this particular case, not only are you comparing apples to oranges in that way, like comparing Rogue One and what they did to make that movie versus the original Star Wars movie, because I think that's actually a good comparison too, because you're looking at it and saying, Superman had to crawl so Man of Steel could walk, or Superman had to run so Man of Steel could fly, because without the 1978 Superman, we would not have Man of Steel, because they set the template for what most modern day superhero movies can be. However, if we are comparing them 1-to-1, I do think Man of Steel is better in a lot of ways, because it's got better VFX. It's got it's not necessarily the superior score. I do love both scores. They're both equally good in different ways. And as far as the costume, I like the costume. That's my opinion. I personally really think the storytelling is next level, because the 1978 Superman was a very simple plot, relatively simple story arcs, whereas what you get with Man of Steel is a couple of levels above, because the expectation of the audiences in this era was very different. Like, just the world building of what they did with Krypton was miles and away superior to everything that they did, including Marlon Brando, for the 1978 Superman. So I do think in a lot of ways the theme, the story, the acting is better. It is better. Like, let's be honest. It is better. Henry Cavill is a more successful, better actor than Christopher Reeve was too. So there's that too.
Oh, you can't really blame him, because like comic book movies are actually respected now, while they were not respected back then, because but again, Superman was really the only one.
Again, that's the nuance of that's the idea of Superman. Like, if they did not have that movie in our in our catalog, if Superman didn't exist, then Man of Steel wouldn't exist. Right? Because it was an entirely different challenge to bring Superman to life in 1978 than it was in 2013. So like it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison, but if you were to do it, I would prefer Man of Steel.
At the same time, I don't think the acting was better. I think it was, for the most part, outside of Michael Shannon's performance, very monotone, very one note, very boring. I think Henry Cavill tried to do a lot with what little he was given. And he came out with a lot of the body mannerisms and the cadence of like his overall like character, but like for the most part, Reeve acted circles around him. The themes are all over the place and contradictory, and the story is almost not there because of how hollow it is. Meanwhile,
I completely disagree with you on that. By the way,
it's as you said, it's a very simple story, but I think it's it's just they go for the more alien side than like what is attempted with the more human side with Man of Steel, which falls flat on its face because of the contradictory themes. But Superman was like more about like the alien side trying to be more in touch with the human side, and I think that was like a very intriguing way to do it. And how they did that was, I thought, very well done. And it's a simpler movie, but sometimes I think at this point simpler is better, because both Superman
Not
1978 and Superman
necessarily
2025 are
always.
simpler movies, and they succeeded. And then Man of Steel tries to do
Yeah.
something like deeper,
Okay.
and then it failed miserably. So
No, but there's
I
a
don't
thing
know.
though, like I completely, that whole thing of that statement entirely depends on what your definition of failure and success is. Because I will go to the box office take. They are virtually on par with each other between Man of Steel and Superman. Critically, yes, Superman got a much better reception, but it also depends on what kind of Superman you want to see. So, yeah, is the theme the most important for a movie, Dan? I don't think any one thing like a theme is the most important thing, because a movie is the greater, hopefully greater than the sum of its parts. So you could have a movie that has a bad theme but really great acting and great cinematography that you might like, and then another movie that has the same combination you might not like at all. So yeah, I think this is the kind of hot take we love to see, because there's a lot of nuance to this. I just look, Man of Steel is a great movie, Superman's a good movie. The new Superman movie there's not a lot of reading between the lines, but it also does a really good job of portraying who Clark Kent is as a person, and the movie spends more time exploring Clark Kent than Man of Steel did. But Man of Steel and Caleb, what you're making is a very hollow argument comparing The Godfather to Transformers 4. Shame on you. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is
Obviously,
with Superman
Transformers 4 is the superior movie. Like,
it is the
that's what
superior
Dan's
movie.
saying.
It's got Mark Wahlberg in it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But anyway, like we're getting into the hyperbole, area now. But
right,
it's that whole thing of like Man of Steel on purpose did not explore Clark Kent in that same way, because it was trying to tell a very different story. So even comparing Man of Steel to Superman is like apples to oranges, because here's the thing: it's not like you're comparing Blue Beetle to the first Iron Man movie, because in those cases, both movies had a very similar template. We're trying to do some very similar things, had a very similar third act, even though, again, the two characters come from very different backgrounds. One is a rich white dude that's got a wealthy family that he comes from, whereas the other one is, a Hispanic dude who's much younger, doesn't have the affluent background, but in terms of their superhero journey, it's similar. So like you look at the plot structure and all those elements is different. And Caleb, you could say that, but like, yes, it did make both movies, Superman and Man of Steel, were both profitable. And yes, box office success does not mean good movie, but box office success means sequels. So I think both movies accomplished that, in the sense that Man of Steel led to BVS, regardless of what you think about that movie. Superman is leading to Man of Tomorrow. So in that sense, you could say, they both check the same boxes. So having said all that, I don't think we're going to agree on this topic, but that's what a good hot take is made of. So if I had to give this a 5-star rating, I would say that is a 10-star hot take. Thank you for that, Harbinger.
But that's obviously not the only hot take we have.
Yeah.
So we're going to be moving on to the next one. Josh 5247. I don't care about Harold and the Purple Crayon comic book. Shazam was mid and Shazam 2 was awful. Zach Levi was semi-charming in the first film, but he was just straight up annoying in the sequel. The joke got old real fast. What the fuck does Harold and the Purple Crayon have anything to do with that?
I have no idea why that's in there. I just was in the comments. I'm like, okay.
But anyway, no, wrong. Shazam was goated. Shazam 2 had its problems, but it's still my second favorite DCEU movie. I get why people would find Levi annoying, because he kind of doubled down on all the weakest aspects of the character in the first movie. But I still overall liked him and I liked the movie. But I feel like there was more nuance than a lot of people give the first Shazam credit for, in terms of Billy Batson turning into Captain Marvel. And it's that he was never allowed to be a kid, and the ironic part is that he finally got to live out his fantasies as a kid by being a kid in an adult body. That was the whole like That was the whole thing about it. That was the whole irony of it all, was like he was finally able to like be a kid, have friends, and do all the things he wanted to do as like his whole life, but couldn't because he was running away from foster homes. He was living on the streets. He was like doing all this stuff. And then he finally gets to like be silly, be weird, have fun in this, you know, adult body. That, like, again, kind of like Big. That was essentially what the director wanted. David S. Sandberg is like big in, you know, but a comic book movie. So, and that's what Big was like this kid being a kid in an adult body. And then the latter half of Big, I think, was put into the sequel, where it's like he's starting to learn to become an adult and take on those more adult responsibilities, but also kind of losing himself in the process. That's what Shazam 2 was about, where he was so for the whole first movie, he's like, I don't want a family. I don't need a family. I only want my mom. Turns out his mom's a cunt. So he's like, okay, the whole found family outcast thing, I'm finding that. Shazam 2 was like, okay, this clearly insecure kid who is in desperate need of a therapist, is tethering onto the idea of like, I need to make sure this family is together and that I don't lose them. And there was the whole subplot of him, like, once he turns 18, they're going to chuck him out. And then like and then like with great power comes great responsibility is another thing that was present in Shazam 2. And I feel like there were a lot of those aspects that some people missed, and because they were so focused on the dumber aspects that they kind of doubled down on with the sequel. But I think there was more to it than a lot of people gave it credit for. But you know, but
I mean,
that's just my opinion. I think there's more to it than a lot of people give credit for, and I really like both of those movies, not because they're silly, but I think there's more to them, is all.
I completely agree with you. I think that the original Shazam movie was fantastic, and the second one was a step down, very decidedly,
I think so.
You know, lesser film to the first, but I love the fact that they really leaned into the family aspect of Shazam, which I didn't expect in the first half of that movie.
What's real? It's family.
I've seen all the Fast and Furious movies, lady. It's all about family. I'm sure I know Dan was grinning like an idiot in the theater.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
It's all about
especially because Helen Mirren is like Dom's mom in the franchise. So I mean, you know, it all makes sense. It's connected, guys.
Wait,
there is a connection.
Is that accurate? Wait, is that true?
Yes, Helen Mirren plays Dom's long lost mother in the movies. Yeah. Have you not seen the newest version?
I've never seen a single Fast and Furious movie. Like, anyway.
It's one of the newer ones. I forget where. I think it was the one. Oh God,
was it the one with John Cena? Was his long lost brother?
I think it was the John. Yes. So basically, the only member
Fast
of
9 or F9.
Right. Well, F9. I think the Fast Saga. No. Was it F? Oh God, I think it was Fast and Furious 8. Furious.
Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious. Yes, it's basically
that's just
the
wrong.
only.
That's get the fuck out of here with that bullshit hot take. All right.
Yeah, Caleb is just now throwing really trash takes out there. So suck it, Caleb. Why don't you honka on Jared Leto's dick for a moment while we talk about some real takes? But yes, the first Shazam was amazing. The second was decided to step down. I do love all the meta jokes. Again, it was a movie that suffered from being a lame duck franchise film because the DCEU was on its way out, and you know, just publicly, James Gunn was like, the DCU is coming, and there's 10 projects that we have announced. None of them was connected to anything that these movies were going to provide us.
Right.
So it's unfortunate. I do think they sort of went in a direction that they maybe didn't need to for the second Shazam movie. They could have spent less money and then made
that's
better.
Clearly
like
wrong.
Because
as I was just filibustering for like a full 2 minutes. That's wrong because I'm one of those people. So you're wrong. That's just factually incorrect. Because me and my best friend both loved both movies. So clearly you're wrong. Anyway, let's move on. We have another hot take. Monique Rupley says, even if Netflix buys Warner Brothers, the Snyderverse will not return. I think this is just fact at this point. Like, this is just, yeah.
It's a good hot take though, Monique. I don't know if you're watching live, but yeah, okay. So MTG has never seen the Shazam movies. Man explaining, enterprising. Thank you. That's what we try to do on the show all the time.
Yeah, there's a fan of everything. There's
Exactly.
a fan of like the fucking what's the worst? Like Thor: Love and Thunder. There are fans of that movie. I don't know how
It made like $700 million. So
I mean, these people exist. There are literal fans of Solo. Like there are horrible people out there, Caleb. Okay, it's just that's just.
Well,
how
we're
it
not
is.
saying that it makes you a horrible person just because you like a movie, though.
No, well, I think you are kind of a horrible person if you like Solo, but that's beside the point. The point
Fair
is,
enough.
I don't think this is much of a hot take because I think this most non-delusional people will agree with this. That this is not coming back, even if Netflix buys Warner Brothers.
I mean, Monique's saying that even if Netflix buys Warner Brothers, the Snyderverse will not return. While it's not necessarily a hot take, as like a traditional hot take, I think it's a good reminder because Netflix doesn't really have any motivation to go in that direction, especially because I don't think Zack Snyder's really working with Netflix anymore, or if he has the deal, I don't know if the last photograph is part of that deal, because he's also currently working with Warner Brothers on that 300 prequel series. So it's not like he's exclusive to Netflix either, but obviously in this situation, you would have Warner Brothers theoretically be a part of Netflix. Does it make it more likely that Zack Snyder ends up directing another DC project? Yes. Does it mean the Snyderverse is coming back? Most likely not, because it's more than just bringing it back because it was popular. If it was more popular and the business metrics actually said that, Hollywood is in the business of making money. They would not be giving James Gunn the chance to do what he's doing if they thought that the Snyderverse was going to be profitable and bring the kind of success that they expect to get from the DC brand. So that alone, I think, is evidence enough. But you go beyond that, I don't think Netflix is going to blow up what they're working on today over at DC Studios because it's working. They're going to keep up with that. They might bring in other creators. They might want to change direction. They might want to make stuff that is Netflix exclusive. But that doesn't mean the Snyderverse is returning. It's also a matter of like those actors have moved on and doing different things. Like Ben Affleck is working with Matt Damon now in Artist Equity, and he really wants to kind of take charge of that, like the producing side of his career and not necessarily work in big franchise
Although to be
movies.
fair, Ben Affleck fucking flip-flops. Like
he does. No, he does. I'm saying for the right person. I'm sure if Zack Snyder asked him and really did want him to come back, that Ben Affleck would at least consider it. But also, like, Henry Cavill is busy, dude. Like, Henry Cavill has got 5 different franchises right now. On multiple of those franchises, he's a producer as well. So he's not just somebody involved in front of the camera. He's also involved in the development of those franchises. He's currently recuperating from an injury. Gal Gadot, I'm sure, wouldn't appreciate another chance to play Wonder Woman. But Jason Momoa is part of the current
I mean,
DC,
she has no
so-
fucking career nowadays, so that makes sense.
but also like Jason Momoa being Lobo and Aquaman again would be kind of confusing. I think. I mean, Ezra Miller, we have no idea if anybody wants to get anywhere near Ezra Miller. So there's a lot of things, and with Ray Fisher, I'm sure he would come back if Zack Snyder was involved, and Zack Snyder would want him back. But there's a lot of question marks, if buts and thens,
Big
and
question marks.
ultimately, I just don't think it makes good business sense. Would it make it a little more likely? Sure. Maybe it goes from, a long odds to slightly less long odds, but it's not going to become like
It goes from like
2-1
0
favorite.
to 1%. But according to Ben Affleck's Batman, that is an absolute certainty. So
Again, completely missed the point of that line, but sure, John. Sure.
Anyway, so next up, Game Freakness. Game Freakness has said Justice League 2017 was better than the Snyder Cut. Snyder Cut was too hardcore and rated R for no reason, as the movies are supposed to be more family oriented. Cue the clip. Like the other ones were PG-13 for a reason.
You don't turn your back on family.
So, yes and no. Like, if someone had to sit me down and be like, gun to my head, you have to watch one of these, I'd probably watch 2017 again, purely on the grounds it's shorter. it's 2 hours versus 4 hours. So does
I
that make it a
wouldn't.
better movie? No. But
Yeah.
like if like I had to rewatch one of them, it would be the theatrical cut. And plus that to be fair, 2017, it had that Gary Clark Jr. rendition of Come Together, which was fucking
Oh, I
goated.
love that.
That
That
was
was really
goated.
good.
Like 100%.
And you can't tell me that wasn't a Zack Snyder thing. I mean, he just didn't use it again because he wanted to separate the two versions of the movie, but that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so I think there are some things I like in the 2017 version that were not in the Snyder Cut. Like, for instance, I did like the scene where like Batman is coaching like Flash, and he was like, just save one. That's all you need to do is just save one.
Like,
And
that
there
particular
was
arc was
like
better.
and I think like there was the more team aspect. I feel that was a little bit better in Justice League 2017,
Hey, Patrick.
where it was
I will look
just
outside of that one piece. I think the rest of that movie was pretty hollow and one-dimensional because you get way more from each character in the Snyder Cut, and
well,
it's like
yeah,
the
it's
characterization of
an
the
extra
Flash is
2
completely
fucking
different.
hours of footage. Of course, you're gonna get more.
Yes, I mean, and they could have cut out a good 20 to 30 minutes from it, but I still think the Snyder Cut is a superior movie. And honestly, here's the thing: the rating here,
Correct.
The two movies were closer in rating than you realize. The only reason why the Snyder Cut was rated R versus PG-13 is because Zack Snyder seems to think that's, more his brand, whatever. And really the reason why it got a rated, R rating from the MPA versus a PG-13 is because they threw in one or two unnecessary F-bombs, which for the theatrical cut, they would have easily just cut out because they don't need them in there. And so those are two very minor things. And outside of that, there wasn't really a whole lot else in the movie that you would look at and say, this is not a PG-13 movie. It's not like there were all of a sudden a ton more blood in the movie. They weren't mutilating people and bodies and shit. It wasn't like, there was like fuck, shit, pussy, and whatever. They weren't using that kind of language. It wasn't like all of a sudden a Quentin Tarantino movie where they were saying the F word in every other sentence or the N word or whatever. It was basically the same thing, except they said fuck like 2 times. And you can only get away with 1 to make it a PG-13 movie. So they basically had the same rating. And if both movies were going to be theatrically released, then Warner Brothers would have made them cut out the extra fuck, which happened to be one of the post-credit scenes, which wasn't going to be a part of the theatrical cut anyway. So that was the Zack Snyder edition that he shot in his literal parking lot of his house. So there you go. Like, I personally think that the Snyder Cut is the better movie overall because it gives you a better iteration of each of the team members,
but like
and gives them more character development.
I think I just think it's slightly better, but not by much. Like, I'd give 2017 maybe like a 5. I'd give like the Snyder Cut maybe like a 6.5. Even that might be a little bit too kind. So yeah.
I think that the Snyder Cut, the Zack Snyder's Justice League was probably a good 7.5 to an 8, whereas the theatrical Justice League was maybe a 6. So I lean a little bit higher. And as far as the whole Caleb was bringing up the black Superman costume idea, I think the concept behind it is sound. Because in the comics, we have seen Superman when he gets resurrected, the black costume.
And he's in the black suit, but like, here's the thing I have a problem with the black suit.
But hold on. Let me finish what I was saying, because in theory, the idea and the concept was sound. The execution, I think it ultimately became one of those things where social media became cool to hate on it, but also like it became a bigger deal than it needed to be. And Zack Snyder like leaned into it for whatever reason, because in the movie, it doesn't really serve a big function. Like, if he wore the same suit that he did before he died, it wouldn't have made a big difference to the average audience, because it's not like he was healing up for days and weeks and months. All he does is flies up to the sun, looks like Jesus for 5 seconds, and then he's back to being Superman. So I'm like, the black costume was overused in that sense.
That's the problem with the black suit, is like, look, it's comic accurate. Yeah, well, the reason, okay, fine, like, sure, if you want to use that argument, and don't get me wrong, I like seeing more comic books out of movies. But the thing is, the comics, it had a point. It was a specialty solar suit where it was more. It converted like solar energy into more energy for Superman, so that he can,
heal up
be like
faster.
he can, charge up faster and defeat
Which wasn't explained in the movie, right? Because the
Right.
expectation is the fans will know what that means. If you're not a fan, you're just like, okay, I guess he's got a different suit now. So
Yeah,
it's
it just it just doesn't make sense, because the thing is, we've seen Superman literally get fucking nuked in the red and blue suit in BVS, and he's just hits the sun for 5 seconds and boom, he's back to where he was. So it's like, clearly he doesn't need the black suit to get to that point again, if he could just essentially come back from death after that and then go on his merry way. So
right, exactly. That's also why, right? Because the reasoning behind why they do it in the comics is different from what it became like a gimmick in the movie, and to the point where, again, in the actual theatrical version, if Zack Snyder had been allowed to finish it too, they shot the same suit and then recolored it in post-production to make it look like the black and silver suit. So it wasn't like they designed a suit that was specific to like the comic book reference, because like Ron was saying, in the comics, it doesn't even have a cape. Superman has lost his powers. He really needs it for different reasons. The shield looks different. So there was a lot of different things. I think it just became one of those things where it was a hill that Zack Snyder was wanting to die on. And because he had Kate Blanchett with the budget, or like Warner, but at least with the creative side of things, with the Snyder cut, he was like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Whereas I think in the theatrical cut, that would have been a negotiation.
It cool. Like that was essentially it. Like it
looked cool.
Because the thing is, here's the thing, and here's another thing about it. Final thing I'll say about it is, if it actually mattered, they would have given an explanation in the movie. They would have shot something with him that would have.
It doesn't take more than a few lines of dialogue. Yeah. Like you could have just simply had a couple of lines of dialogue with Alfred.
$70 million that was allocated to the budget just to shoot another scene of Superman is like, oh, hey, why the black suit? It's like, well, it's because it converts, blah, blah, blah. Or it's because, there was a great theory online where their theory, I think it was by NerdSync, where they're like, maybe it's like a Kryptonian burial suit or something like that. Like, it was just like, oh, I think, I think it's because Lois Lane thought she saw it was a burial suit, so she buried me in it. Boom, there we go. Easy.
Although he gets it from that
but the thing is, he gets it from the thing,
so
and
not,
or like maybe it's like a royalty thing. I don't fucking know. You could have just thrown in a line of dialogue,
like, literally
that made it mean something.
The easiest way they could have done this in the movie without having to change up the way the Snyder cut plays out, or even if they did it in the theatrical version, when he shows up with Alfred fixing the car, they could have literally shot new cutaways in medium angles with you could do it in green screen, and you don't even need to go back and use the same set and set it all up again, where you just have Alfred ask I like the new suit, Master Kent, whatever, he says, and then Henry Cavill's Superman says something to the effect of, it helps me heal better, or it's my recovery suit or whatever, it helps absorb more of the sun's yellow light, whatever, maybe a callback to Man of Steel, where it's the yellow sun here will make you stronger, son, and you will lead these people and they'll rush behind you, or whatever, all of that stuff. They could have been just 2 lines of dialogue. They could have done it. But the fact that Zack Snyder didn't feel the need to do it, again, like you said, John, it's because he wanted to use it. He wanted to check a box, give it a reference to the fans. He thought it was cool. And that's what it was. But yeah, I like these DC specific hot take debates. This is where the rubber meets the road, because we can really get into some arguments.
Now, next time, Marvel hot takes.
I think it's a good idea. We could do a Marvel specific hot take debate. Avengers Endgame is total bullshit except for the ending. So everybody loves the movie, but the rest of the movie is basically a bloated clip show.
Yeah, I mean, we already went through that with the tier list,
we did actually. Yeah, that's true.
It is true. It's 100. You're correct. That's not a hot take. Well, to me, it's not a hot take, but to everyone else, it's a hot take. So.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, if you could have just given us the final fight sequence, and that would have been a great movie unto itself. Or if you cut out the final fight sequence, the rest of that movie is not very good. So,
Anyway,
yeah.
but thank you for watching Hot Take Debate. This has been a good packed show. Like literally, it was like pretty much like an hour, 45 minutes of just Hot Take Debate. So give us more of your hot takes. Whether it's DC, Marvel, whatever, post it in the newest community post tab. The newest post
Yeah,
in the
and
community tab. So yeah, or the posts tab, whatever the fuck it's called.
if you guys, by the way, we're gonna be putting up a poll tomorrow for Fancast Friday. If you guys have ideas for what you would like to do for Fancast Friday, get in the comments down below. Let us know, because then we can take those ideas and put them into the poll. You can vote on for Fancast Friday, and of course tomorrow we're gonna do the Tier List Tuesday with the new news now accounting for the fact that maybe Comcast might have Saudi backing for taking over Warner Brothers. So they will be all ranked from Apple to Amazon to Comcast to Paramount Skydance to Netflix and whoever else wants to get in on the sweepstakes for Warner Brothers Discovery. We'll rank them, and then we'll of course also have DCU Daily. So stick around and come back to us tomorrow. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate that. That really helps us out. Leave a comment down below. That also helps the YouTube algorithm gods know that we're doing a decent job. So yeah, and hit subscribe if you're new. Hit the notification bell.
Yes.
We're here 5 days a week. So
anyway, so let's get to it. We're done for the day. And what do we play? Do we play DCU Daily to play us?
Let's just do the hot take debate, because like that's
let's do the hot take debate. See you later.
Who is that?
Retarded.
Retired. I'm already in the void. I'm not trying to get canceled again.
I don't like you.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Chicks dig the car.
This is why Superman works alone.
Black rubber.
Ooh, you nasty, mon beauté rouge. Les éléments de ton relais, hein?
Not a single word.
You bring your scarred psyche.
I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Pathetic psychopath. Begging for attention.
You were just leaving.
Oh, no, 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 no! No!
And remember, just fuck Jeff Snyder.